continue to honor the life and legacy of former President Jimmy Carter. Now, when Carter won the presidency back in 1976, he asked the civil rights leader from Georgia, then Congressman Andrew Young, to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Let's head back out to Fox 5's Russ Spencer. You're there at the Carter Center. Russ, we know that you had a chance to speak with the ambassador today about their long friendship.
Eric, it was a decades-long friendship rooted in their Christian faith and their belief that with hard work and a devotion to the truth, they could make the world a better place. Andrew Young was the first African-American to serve as U.S. ambassador to the UN.
I think he was taking a chance on me just as I was taking a chance on him. That it was very unusual in the 1970s to have someone, not unusual to have someone from Atlanta, but to have someone from South Georgia to be so relaxed and present in the presence of minorities. He had grown up in a county that was 80% black most of his life. He actually was more comfortable with black people than he was with white people, I think. He viewed people according to their abilities and their commitments, and he treated us all like we were his family.
Well, as you know very well, Mr. Ambassador, back in 1971 during his inauguration as governor, he said the time for racial discrimination is over. Put that into some context for it. That surprised some of his supporters, did it not?
Well, it surprised everybody, because I don't think there had ever been a Southern politician born and raised in the South who would say that publicly in the South before a state legislature. I'm in favor of the way he was moving in Africa. He asked me to meet with as many African leaders as possible. And by that he meant not only black leaders in Africa, but South African white leaders in Africa. And we were able to move South Africa toward an end of apartheid, and they got Nelson Mandela out of prison after 34 years in prison, and that country is stable, more stable than it would have been had we not moved that way.
And he was just 56 years old, as you know, when he finished his presidency, began the Carter Center in 1982. I've read where you've described his life as a ministry. What do you mean by that?
I mean that he and his mother, I'm convinced, were sure that they were agents of Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. Now, that was not exclusive, but their motivations were so much out of the Judeo-Christian heritage that they were religious convictions.
Ambassador Young told me President Carter knew full well that some of his positions could have cost him his life. Remember, Andrew Young was with Dr. King when he was killed. But he said President Carter never wavered from doing what he thought needed to be done.